Hello everyone and welcome to Quantum Football. It's my first video. I mean, what can I say? It's going to be pretty great. Top 30 running back rankings. We'll see how it goes. Now, I know I look pale as fuck, but don't worry about it. It's just the lighting. I have seen the sun in the past 4 years. So, yeah, let's get on with it. So, I have some off-season running back destinations, some important ones, all the guys that are going to be on this list that I think are moving are on here. Kenyan Drake, I'm going to have him staying with the Cardinals because even though he had a pretty disappointing season, I think it was mainly because of the play calling rather than Kenyan Drake actually being bad. And I think the Cardinals would be what's the word for it? They're basically obligated to re-sign the guy. So I'm going back to the Cardinals. Chris Carson, I'm having them move on from him, just because of the fact that he's going to be pretty expensive, and they have to have some cap casualties. And Chris Carson, is Chris Carson a free agent? Probably, but I have him going to the Jets. Aaron Jones, I know he's a free agent. I have him going to the Dolphins because the Packers don't really need him anymore. They've got A.J. Dillon, who looks like an absolute beast, and Aaron Jones is just going to be one of the guys they flick off and they're done with. So it's unfortunate for him, but I think he moves to a pretty decent situation with the Dolphins. Travis Etienne, I have him going to the Buccaneers, mainly because they hate Ronald Jones, and they don't really have any real needs. So, why not? Najee Harris, I have him going to the Falcons. The Falcons just have a bunch of needs, and I think, with the very little cap space, or negative cap space that they have, getting a running back in the draft is going to be very important for them. So I think they end up going Najee Harris. And, if he's not available, they probably take one of the rookie running backs. So it'll be one of the situations that pop up throughout the offseason. Javonte Williams, I have him going to the Steelers, just because I think he'd be a good fit there. He's a very good powerhouse running back, and I think the Steelers like those kind of guys, so I ended up putting him there. So let's see. The number one fantasy running back is, if I can move it, let me move my camera over. It is Christian McCaffrey at number one. Not a big surprise here. Whenever he's on the field, he's the best running back in the NFL. Plain and simple. I don't think there's much argument here. Let's move on. At number two, I've got Alvin Kamara. Now, last season, he had, it was pretty incredible what he could accomplish. And it's pretty incredible when you think about it, that he could have had over 2,000 scrimmage yards. Probably even close to 3,000 on the pace that he was on. But Drew Brees ended up getting injured, and he had to, unfortunately, deal with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. Mainly Taysom Hill, though. And he did not get too much production from them during that time span. But then he started to pick it back up, and then when Drew Brees came back, he was just as good with him. So I think the whole thing with Alvin Kamara is just going to be the Saints are going to want to build around him. And I think when Drew Brees was out, they just really didn't have the time to build a whole offense, because Kamara is going to be now their best player. Let's be frank about this. And I don't see him slowing down in 2021. And number three, I've got Dalvin Cook, a guy who's despite his injuries, scares, and concerns, has managed to nab that top 5 running back season, and I would not be surprised if he gets another one. The Vikings offense looks to be getting even better with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen pairing up to be, Batman and Robin. And Dalvin Cook is just the guy to power it behind him. So this Vikings team might be pretty scary, just by the offense alone. And if they address defense pretty well, they could be potential sneaky Super Bowl contenders. That being said, Dalvin Cook is an elite running back. Not too much else to say. That's why he's at number 3. At number 4, I've got Saquon Barkley. He's probably the guy who will get the most conversation as we move in to the 2021 season. His injury carries a lot of weight with him. Does he fall off because he has to deal with that sort of thing, or will he be like Adrian Peterson and come back even stronger than before? I think it's very hard to have a comeback season like AP had, but look at him. He's Saquon Barkley. Like, he's probably going to be really good. And if I had to guess, this probably changes as we get closer to the season. As more news comes out, as we see more, practice things coming from him. If he looks like the same guy that we fell in love with in that 2019 season, 2018, he was drafted in 2018, right? Yeah, 2018. In that 2018 season, in his rookie year, then he could easily be the running back 1. But if he doesn't look the same as he used to, he might be going like even further down than like 10. So right now I have him at 4 because that's a little happy medium. He goes above the next guy, mainly because he can get that receiving volume. And he has that super high upside. So, yeah. At number 5, I've got Derrick Henry. He's had like crazy seasons, and yet he's not the top fantasy performer, which is pretty sad. Don't think that's how fantasy should work, but it's how it is. In a PPR format, you're not going to get as much as you'd like from Derrick Henry. So, he's going to be that powerhouse 3 down, 4 down back for you if you're the Titans, but he's not going to get you tremendous fantasy points just because he's not getting the heavy volume, that extra point per reception that he's getting. So, it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. Derrick Henry's at 5, mainly because he's still part of the elite running back company, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. At number 6, Ezekiel Elliott. He's been disrespected a little bit over these past couple of months. People have been saying, yeah, Zeke's fallen off a cliff. He can't play anymore. He doesn't look explosive. And those people are just wrong. They're wrong. The quarterback situation was just not good for Dallas. And Zeke's not the kind of player to, unfortunately, he's not the kind of player to, play elite running back wise without a good quarterback. He has to have a guy who can move the offense at least to try and get some yards, because Zeke can't do it all by himself, unfortunately. And with that coming back, very likely to happen, I think it's inevitable that Zeke comes back and has a tremendous season. Maybe not nearly as good as his elite performances that he's had in the past with running back 1 and running back 2 seasons. But I think he'll be pretty damn close to that. So people are saying he's at 8 or 9 are just crazy. So number 7, I've got basically a tier separation here. Jonathan Taylor, he's the best of the next, right? He is the guy who's coming up. He might be able to dominate this next year and solidify himself in elite company, just like the top 6. So, that's why he's here at number 7. He hasn't quite shown that he can be elite yet, but I would not be surprised if he does. And he's definitely on the cusp of it. So with the season in 2020 that he had, I would definitely not be surprised if he had a huge 2021. At number 8, I've got Cam Akers. Now, this might be a surprise to some of you, but he's been an absolute beast for the Rams, and he's taking over that Todd Gurley role that the Rams once had. And I think he could be like Jonathan Taylor and break out next season. He's very underrated, I will say. And I think people, as we get closer to 2021, are going to realize Cam Akers is 100% a first round guy in a fantasy draft. So I think you've got to take him in the first round. If you're sitting in that, late first round, and maybe you're sitting at 12, maybe you could take someone like Cam Akers, who has still not been taken, most likely, because people just think that, Cam Akers is not necessarily in that conversation to break out next season or elite. So you have to take up this upside, basically, with the season that he had at the back end during the playoffs and during like week 15 and 16. He was pretty damn good. So if he continues on that path, he's going to be an elite running back. At number 9, I've got James Robinson. He's also been pretty disrespected in these running back rankings, because for some reason people think he's just like not going to have the season that he did last year. Like, why would he not improve on his rookie season? I don't get it. Apparently, since he's undrafted, the Jags are thinking, oh, we'll grab a running back to split the carries. Like, that makes no sense. Maybe they get like a backup running back for him, but I don't see him slowing down at all. And I would not be surprised if I have him at like 7 or 8 as we head into the season, because he's just that good. And the offense is going to improve with Trevor Lawrence and whatever the Jags can get in the offseason. At number 10, I have a bit of a surprise. Antonio Gibson. Now, this might be a little bit controversial because I think Gibson is very underrated, and I think he could have a season that people are going to be very surprised at. And I think he's going to get a bigger role, and he's going to get a better offense. Mainly because either Alex Smith is coming back ready and healthy, or they're going to get a really good QB, or at least a competent QB, to the point where, you can start moving the ball much easier if you're the Washington football team, which means you're more likely to get more points from Antonio Gibson. The fact that you had like a couple of injuries over the back half of the season doesn't really worry me too much. And I think he's going to be a big surprise for people. At number 11, I've got Nick Chubb. This guy is just the beast. He's like a mini Derrick Henry. He just runs through people, and it's fantastic to watch. If you haven't seen like Nick Chubb highlights, you need to go watch those things. He's like a Marshawn Lynch mixed with Derrick Henry, and it's pretty great. But yeah, I think he's getting a bigger role with Cleveland as the running back. He seems like he's starting to catch more passes, which means that he's going to get some receiving volume, which could definitely up his stock. And if nobody realizes this heading into the 2021 season, he could definitely be like a dark horse number 1 running back for that season. So, he could surprise a lot of people. I don't know necessarily if he makes that leap because he has to split with Kareem Hunt, but from what I've seen, he's been getting more work and not less. So that's why I have Nick Chubb at number 11. At number 12, I've got Austin Eckler. This is the first guy that has pretty big injury concerns on this list. I can't remember the last time he played a full season. In fact, me being new to this whole scene just proves this fact, because I'm pretty sure he had a full season at some point. But in the last couple of years, he's been injury prone, and if he plays a full season, he's probably like running back 7 pretty consistently. But if not, he's going to be just a hindrance on you, because you don't know whether or not he's going to be coming back, or you just lose him straight off the bat. So that's the unfortunate thing with Austin Eckler. You kind of have to take with the good with the bad, and put him at a place in your rankings that makes sense for you. If you think that his injuries are a way bigger concern, you might have him further down on the list. If you think that it will come back and be amazing with Justin Herbert, and you're willing to take that upside, by all means. I would not frown upon you putting him at like number 8, for example. At number 13, I've got Josh Jacobs. Now, people have him, basically being way, way down on their list, because despite having a number 8, a running back 8 season for Josh Jacobs, he did not feel like that at all. He had like 1 or 2 good games, and the rest were just like, do you really want him on your roster? Like, for like 2 pretty good games? I don't know. You don't really have like too great of an upside. I don't know if the Raiders get better over the offseason. So where do you put this guy? I have him at 13 because I still think he's really good, but he's going to have to be really lucky to have a season like he did last year. So that's the unfortunate thing for him. But yeah, that's what you have to gauge him at. Number 14, I've got the rookie Travis Etienne playing for the Buccaneers. Now, Etienne is a rough case because he's probably going to have huge receiving volume, especially with the Bucs. But where do you gauge a guy who's, a late first round guy? We had this very same situation, if he goes to the Bucs, last year with Clyde Zillaire. He started off pretty decent, but then apparently the Chiefs weren't satisfied and they wanted more, so they signed Le'Veon Bell, and then Zillaire just kind of gave away half his points to Le'Veon Bell for some reason. And then, he ended up being like the running back 19 on the season. So, or I think he was like running back 21 actually. But yeah, I had him. I had Clyde Zillaire like at 12 last season for my rankings, and he ended up being 21. Most people had him like 4 or 5, which is crazy. Why would you put a rookie at 5? I know that's the Chiefs, but like still, it's like a whole lot of risk involved. I would rather, have Etienne or Clyde Zillaire as a rookie at number like 12 than number 4. It's just like way too much risk to go along with your 4th pick. That's just my opinion, though. If you really have faith in one of these big rookie names, then by all means put them up further, but I would not advise putting them anywhere above like 6. Anywhere above those elite guys is just you're kind of playing with yourself at that point. You're not really going to have a fun time when when you find out that, because like Saquon Barkley is way different, right? He had a tremendous rookie season, and like, he was a generational talent. Clyde Zillaire is not generational talent at the running back position. So, it's not something you want to do. You don't want to put a late first round running back in your top 6, even if you think they're in a great situation. At number 15, I've got Joe Mixon, another guy who's been pretty injury prone over the past couple of years. Been quite unfortunate. Hopefully he ends up like Austin Eckler and ends up like Austin Eckler could and have a great season. It's just been kind of unfortunate. You kind of have to carry his injury concerns with this pick if you ever make it, because he carries that a whole lot more than others. So, if he's not injured, he could be a running back 5 or 6. And that's not even a ceiling. That's probably where he would go if he played the whole season. So, do you go for that upside and draft him at the 9th running back, early mid 2nd round? Or do you take him early 3rd to mid 3rd, late 3rd? It really just depends on how you think Joe Mixon will end up during the season. And it's kind of just a toss-up, kind of just gamble. I would not go for this, even though he has so much upside. If you have him ranked this low, you're probably not going to be able to take him in the draft. Let's be honest here. So I'm probably not drafting Joe Mixon in 2021. But, maybe people will have the same concerns as I do, and he falls super duper far, in which case I'd be glad to take him late 3rd, early 4th. Now, Miles Sanders at 16. This is where it starts to get pretty dicey. I think Miles Sanders is due for a breakout season. And by that, I mean just continue as he has been, just in a more consistent fashion. And with rushing quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, you're actually going to get more points from your running backs. The only exception to this has been Kyler Murray. Kenyan Drake has been pretty terrible with Kyler Murray, but that's because Kyler Murray scores all the touchdowns. So, when you have a rushing quarterback, you get way more points usually. So I think that's going to be the case with Jalen Hurts at least. So having him at 16 might be a little bit too low, actually, just because he's, he could be a guy who has a breakout season. But I just think he carries a whole lot more risk with an Eagles team who doesn't even know if they're keeping Jalen Hurts per se. They might draft someone like Trey Lance, which I think it would be crazy to draft a QB 2 years in a row, even after he becomes your starter. But it's the Eagles. It could happen. So with that uncertainty, that's probably why he's going to stick around this range. Now, number 17, Clyde Edwards-Zillaire. Now, this is a little bit strange. You might be saying to yourself, why is he down this far? Well, I just think that, for one thing, Bell could still be splitting with Clyde Edwards-Zillaire. It's very possible that he comes back and splits the work with him. Not only that, but Clyde Edwards-Zillaire, even without Le'Veon Bell, was not as good as people projected. And I think his number, his running back ranking would be a whole lot higher. But there's just so many good running backs at the moment. So it's kind of hard to put him above someone like, a Travis Etienne, for example, in a good Bucs system. That would be pretty hard to imagine that. It would be hard to imagine I put him above Joe Mixon. He's at 15 for me. I would never put him above Eckler. He has way too high of a ceiling. Clyde Edwards-Zillaire has not really proven himself to be able to make that next step yet, but I think it's very possible that he does. And maybe at 17, it's a bit low for him, but at the same time, he finished at the 21 spot, so it's not really. I'm not really comfortable with putting him much above this. At number 18, I don't know why, but I forgot all of the logos, so I only put in Najee Harris's Falcons. But yeah, actually, no, I think I put in one more logo. But yeah, Najee Harris to the Falcons, he'd be the starter. He'd be carrying the majority of the workload. And now that I'm thinking about it, he probably should go a whole lot higher than 18. But like I said, there's just a whole lot of good running backs in like the top 15, for example, that I just can't put him above. And an early second round, late first round pick, just like we saw last year, is not necessarily a recipe for success. I think Jonathan Taylor is one of those exceptions where, you know, he became the starter and he just balled out. So, you know, it's just going to depend on where he goes and how he looks heading within as, you know, maybe he gets some preseason games. Maybe maybe we see on the pro day that he just, you know, looks really, really good. I can see him going up to like 10, perhaps, but anything higher than that, I'd be hesitant to, just because of the same situation that we had last year with Clyde over Zillaire. That sort of thing did not work out, even in a great situation. It was just it's something you have to look out for, you know. At number 19, I've got Aaron Jones. Now, don't get me wrong. He would be way, way higher if he stayed with the Packers. But since he's with the Dolphins, I think it's more likely that he splits with Myles Gaskin. And I say that because Myles Gaskin had a tremendous season despite being like just their random running back that they picked up with the 6th round. Like, he played extremely well. If the Dolphins sign Aaron Jones, I would imagine he has a big role, but I don't think he takes away too much from Myles Gaskin, meaning he can't really have too much of his own. So Dolphins, him going to the Dolphins is probably like one of the worst case scenarios for Aaron Jones. But if he stays with the Packers, he's probably like 10, 11 for me. If he goes to somewhere where he's the clear starting running back, like the Falcons, for example, I would have him at, you know, 12, 13. And if he goes to a system where, you know, there's like one pretty decent backup running back, he probably goes like 14-ish. So that's probably like one of the worst situations for him. I know this is a bad example, but, you know, I'm at least giving you my thoughts now. Don't take this rankings, you know, take it with a grain of salt. At number 20, I've got J.K. Dobbins. Now, this one's tough because he's, for some people, a late 2nd round, early 3rd round guy. And for some people, he's like a late 4th guy. So, at number 20, that's like kind of in between, I would say. I think J.K. Dobbins could definitely be a breakout guy who gets like a running back 9 finish. But I think that's pretty close to unlikely. It might be likely that he keeps splitting work with Gus Edwards or Mark Ingram. I think Mark Ingram goes, but maybe he still keeps splitting work with Gus Edwards. I have no doubts that he's a great football player. I just don't know if he gets the same amount of work as one would expect from a good starting running back. So that's my concern with J.K. Dobbins. He probably will be around 15, 16 for me. If we start hearing things like, you know, Mark Ingram's gone, Gus Edwards is getting a lower work rate, those sort of things would lead me heavily towards bringing him up. But yeah, for now, it's kind of doubtful, and we don't know what's going to happen with that. So that's why I have him at 20. He could stay close to this even if he is the starter, just because of how many good running backs there are, like I said. But yeah. So for 21 through 30, this one is pretty interesting. My face is blocking 25, but this one's a big surprise, so, you know, that's fun. At number 21, I've got DeAndre Swift. Now, before I made this video, or started recording it, I just looked at some mock drafts, and I saw him going, like, first round, and now I'm scared that I don't know something about DeAndre Swift that I should. But my rationale here is that the Lions are terrible with running backs in general. They tend to mess them up somehow. And I don't know if DeAndre Swift is going to be any different. He didn't have, like, the best rookie season either. I think it was a step up from Clyde Zillaire or Miles Sanders, but I don't think he makes the jump next year just because, like, his team's getting worse. So is he going to be even worse than this, perhaps? He's going to be, like, even lower than 21. People are having him go, like, super high, so I highly doubt that. But he shouldn't be talked about as, like, a top 10 guy. I just don't think that's a thing. I don't see myself ever taking him in the first round. I don't see him like me taking him in the early second. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong mock drafts, but you know, it's pretty concerning that I have him at 21. I don't know who I'd put him over though in the top 20. That's the thing. J.K. Dobbins, like, no, I don't think so. Clyde Zillaire, no. Joe Mixon, no. Like, who do I put him above? Like, Gibson, no, obviously. It's just, I don't know where I should put him. Maybe I'm just underestimating DeAndre Swift. But at number 22, I've got David Montgomery. Now looking at mock drafts, he had him. People have him pretty damn low, and I was pretty surprised because, you know, with his terrific season, getting, like, the running back 4, right? Yeah, he was a running back 4 on the season, which is, like, crazy. It's probably the worst running back 4 of all time. You know, he could have a breakout season, but I highly doubt it. He just doesn't look good. I don't know what to tell you. When you watch him play, he doesn't look like anything special, but somehow he gets the fantasy points. So I don't think he'll be even close to a running back 4 season. I think that's his ceiling, period. I don't think he goes anywhere above that ever in his career. So that being said, you know, being at 22 is kind of a lucky thing for him, because I can see actually some of these guys getting, you know, potential past that. So, number 23, Kareem Hunt. The reason why he's falling this far is, like I said, Nick Chubb is getting a bigger role in the offense, I think. And not only that, even though he had a running back 10 season, this sort of thing shouldn't really happen. Nick Chubb was injured halfway through the season, and he kind of took over. He had a pretty big part of that offense as well, even with Nick Chubb on the field. And I don't see, like, too much of that changing. I just don't think... Like, I feel like he overperformed, basically, is what I'm saying. And nothing against Kareem Hunt, but I just don't think he's going to have the season like he did last year. Number 24, Chris Carson. He's kind of one of those slept-on guys. And having him at 24, I don't know if that's sleeping on him still. But he did have a running back 19 season, I believe. Which is kind of... Like, it doesn't feel like he had a running back 19 season. Feels like he had a way better season. But, you know, Chris Carson is solid. I have him going to the Jets, which I don't know if that makes him worse per se, because, you know, he probably gets more work with the Jets, but he has a less talented offense. So I think it ends up being around even. So That's why Chris Carson's at number 24. And number 25, my surprise, is A.J. Dillon. Yeah, I know. Pretty crazy, right? Probably didn't even know this guy before, like a few weeks before the season ended. So the fact that he's like up to 25 is pretty crazy. Now, people have him going like way, way higher, and I think that's crazy, mainly because he doesn't get many receptions, and that's very important if you're in a PPR format. I think he could be an absolute beast, though, so do not sleep on A.J. Dillon. If he's available there in like the 7th round or 6th round, like I would consider taking him in the 6th round. If he's there in the 7th, you should definitely take him. If he's there in the 8th, like, what are people doing at that point? You need to take A.J. Dillon. He's going to be a guy that's either slept on or, people just forget. So, yeah. Kenyan Drake at 26. Him having, like, a running back 16 season is just, like, kind of suspect because it definitely didn't feel like that at all. And like I said earlier, with Kyler Murray rushing, Kenyan Drake gets less points for some odd reason. Mainly because I think with rushing, Kyler Murray steals all the touchdowns, and Kenyan Drake doesn't get too much receiving work, so he doesn't have the touchdown upside if Kyler Murray is rushing. He might get like 1 or 2 in like a span of 8 weeks. Or I think that's what he got. It was like 2 or 3, maybe even less. So if he doesn't get you touchdown upside, then do you really even want to draft him this high? I think what ends up happening is that they'll get him more involved in the red zone and not just keep rushing the ball with Kyler Murray to both protect him and to mix it up. So I think him going at 26 is pretty fair, all of this being considered. At 27, Damien Harris. He's going to be the back that's the starter for the Patriots, obviously. And he could have a huge breakout season. But I just think it's a lot less likely than the other candidates on this list, who were... Damian Harris is not a rookie, I don't think. But this was his first full season. So Damian Harris could have... Actually, maybe he did have... He was a backup, I think, in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a big boost in 2020. He could have another big boost in 2021. But I think it's a whole lot less likely with a Patriots offense that starting to look worse and worse by the day. And, that Patriots team does not look good overall. I would not be surprised if they go, 4 wins next year, which sounds crazy, but I can see it happening. And at number 28, Javonte Williams with the Steelers. I mean, I love the guy. I think he might be ending up drafted in the first round. But that being said, he's a running workhorse back. He's not the kind of guy that takes it a bunch of routes. He doesn't even go in the slot ever. He's just that guy that can get you consistent yardage. And, he'll have great volume, probably with the Steelers, but I just don't see him breaking, more than 16, 17 points a game. Just because I don't think he gets much receiving work at all in this next season. But if he does... and that's the kind of upside you want. And Javonte Williams, if he's still there, in the, 9th round, I would be willing to draft the guy, because he has that huge upside as a rookie. But at the same time, he doesn't get much receiving volume, so you don't want to overevaluate the talent over what he gets in fantasy. Number 29, there's a huge drop-off, basically. Melvin Gordon and David Johnson. They're pretty mediocre running backs at this point. Melvin Gordon can have pretty good seasons. So could David Johnson. it's just they're on pretty bad offenses, and that's where the top 30 running backs are. And yeah, at my first video, it's like hopefully not going to be too long, but it looks to be at 40 minutes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this rankings video. But yeah, if you want to see more content on the channel, I'm open for new ideas. I'm gonna make content based off everything NFL, draft, off-season things, predictions, hot takes, you know, fantasy stuff. All of it's gonna happen on the channel. So if you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.